Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Kellen here again with Droid Life, and today we're diving into a phone that's the follow-up to 2016's phone of the year. Yes, we really did call the OnePlus 3 the best of 2016. So now that this guy's here, the OnePlus 5, there's some added pressure there. For one, can it recreate that magic of last year, which was a combination of high-end specs, best-in-class performance, and software, along with a pretty decent camera, all at a price of a package that no one could really match? Without spoiling too much, I'll just say that yes, in some areas this phone does match up to last year, while in others I would say it struggles a little bit. Let's talk more about that in our OnePlus 5 review. To quickly recap, let's run through the specs, which include a Snapdragon 835 processor, 5.5-inch Full HD AMOLED display, 6GB or 8GB RAM, 64GB or 128GB storage, and 3300 mAh battery. It has the stuff a top-tier phone needs, along with a camera setup that OnePlus is really excited about. You've got a dual camera setup that features 20 megapixel and 16 megapixel shooters, one for zooming or blurring and another for capturing the beauty. I've got a lot to say about these though, so we'll come back there in a little bit. OnePlus also tossed in their alert slider, super fast fingerprint reader, USB Type-C, and ultra quick charging solution called Dash Charging. The OnePlus 5 costs $479 for the slate gray model with 6GB RAM and 64GB storage, or $539 for the midnight black model with 8GB RAM and 128GB storage. The midnight black version is what I'm testing for this review. In the box, you've got the phone, some guides, and a dash charger with cable, and that's it. No fancy ViewSonic earbuds or transfer adapters or cases or any of that can be found here, likely because OnePlus needed to keep the cost down. You can buy all of those goodies from OnePlus if you want, including a variety of cases and earbuds and things like that. Alright, so let's get into this. The OnePlus 5 is a very good phone. It just hasn't quite won me over in the same way that last year's OnePlus 3 and 3T did. Sure, the performance, software, and battery life are all excellent, but the design is a bit underwhelming, and the camera is disappointing to say the least. So let me go through and try to break that down for you piece by piece. I'll get the bad stuff out of the way so that we can move on to the good. So for one, you've got this design. And yes, it looks like an iPhone 7 Plus. I don't think that necessarily offends me that much because the design with this matte black finish is quite sleek, feels great in hand, isn't overly large, and is certainly on trend with its premium material use. But it does look like a damn iPhone, and it's not really unique. It's kind of a carbon copy of Oppo's R11, a company that has close ties to OnePlus, and it just doesn't feel like it's doing anything new. I know a lot of people don't care as much about design. I personally just like some freshness when I fork out hundreds of dollars for new toys. But if you don't care about design, I'm sure you do care about the camera. And unfortunately, I think the camera is pretty bad, if I'm being brutally honest. Now, OnePlus really talked up the camera on the OnePlus 5 both before and during the phone's unveiling, suggesting that it was the single biggest focus. It's again got a dual camera setup, one 20 megapixel f2.6 shooter for depth and distance shots, along with another standard 16 megapixel f1.7 shooter. There's no optical image stabilization though. On one hand, you have a camera that loads quickly and can fire off shots in a hurry. In fact, it's one of the quickest I've used since the Galaxy S8 dropped. It's also got all of the fun modes you could ask for, including a portrait mode, 4K video, and pro settings. But on the other, the results just aren't where they need to be in a time where everyone's cameras are getting really, really good. And I don't think this is me nitpicking. Like, take a look at some of these shots. Anytime I wasn't in the picture perfect lighting, like even with a shadow in play, this camera just failed horribly. The processing just mushes everything together, pictures lack any sort of crispness or sharpness or clarity, and I often found shots unusable. Specifically when outdoors, I don't know that this phone took a photo I loved. Even the shots in good lighting just look dull and lifeless for the most part. Oranges turned brown, blue skies turned gray, that sort of thing. I don't know if any of this can be fixed with software, though I'd hope so, and I'm pulling for OnePlus to make that happen, because at this point a camera this week is a major turnoff. Finally, in the complaint department, I have to point out that this phone isn't water resistant, at least officially at all. I don't think this is a deal breaker, but being summer, I've found myself near water more often than is usual, and with this phone in pocket, I'm constantly worried about where it's sitting, if it's far enough out of the range of water. With the Galaxy S8 or similar phones that do have water resistance, that's something you just no longer have to worry about. Thankfully, those are my only real complaints, because if you want one of the best software experiences of any phone, you get that here. Just like on last year's OnePlus phones, you have Oxygen OS on top of the latest from Google, which happens to be Android 7.1.1 at the moment. That means you can customize the navigation button setup to your liking and even go a step further by allowing buttons to double as shortcuts to perform actions. You can use gestures from the lock screen to launch in your favorite apps, customize OnePlus's shelf feature with shortcuts and widgets to help you get info at a glance, use a custom icon pack, or take advantage of Android 7.1.1's new app shortcuts feature. The overall feel is very much Google's take on Android, which in my opinion is the best, but then you gain some extra power user features. My only worry would be about how long OnePlus plans to support the phone with major software updates. They only supported the OnePlus 2 for a single year and have pledged a year for the OnePlus 3. Beyond that, we don't know. Will they give the 5 more than a year, or is the company all about the one and done? Battery life on the OnePlus 5 has been pretty incredible. Well, I should point out that during my first few days of use on AT&T's network, I wasn't impressed, but then switched to T-Mobile and I'm getting upwards of 6 hours of screen on time with over a full day of use. We're approaching Moto Z Play territory here, and you know how I feel about that phone. So not only will this phone get you through an entire day without worry, OnePlus has once again included dash charging, which might be the best fast charging system on the planet. It takes the heat away from the phone while charging, plus it'll quick charge as you use it. I know that some people complained about the 3300 milliamp hour embedded battery size, but I just don't think you're gonna have any concerns. As far as other noteworthy items go, the fingerprint reader here is about the quickest. You tap this thing and your phone is awake before you realize it. And I also love that even though I use on-screen nav buttons, I can keep the fingerprint reader awake as another home button and shortcut machine. And the alert slider is cool too, though I can't ever seem to fully get it set up properly, or maybe just confuses me at times, but I do like that I don't have to wake this phone to adjust volume settings and can quickly switch from volume on to do not disturb without taking it out of a pocket. The display with its full HD resolution is good enough. I've never been one to scream and shout for the use of Quad HD panels, so I'm fine with this display, especially as an AMOLED. I haven't experienced the jelly effect that has plagued some phones and really have nothing but good things to say about viewing angles, brightness outdoors, and color controls. The auto brightness has been a touch aggressive, though OnePlus has already worked to address that in a software update. OnePlus has really fine-tuned the performance of this Snapdragon 835 as well. I'm not sure there are many better performing phones than this one. The phone flies between apps, the touch latency feels really dialed in. I don't know that I've seen a stutter in the weeks I've spent putting together this review. Let's also not forget that this phone is unlocked, so it'll work just fine on T-Mobile and AT&T, just don't expect it to ever work properly on Verizon or Sprint. This is a GSM phone only. Alright, so you know what I like and dislike about the OnePlus 5. So let's go ahead and break down the price, because in the end, this is really what makes or breaks most purchase decisions, right? You've got starting points of $479 and $539. These are easily the most expensive OnePlus phones to date, and that's a little bit concerning. Just a couple of years ago, OnePlus was offering a top-of-the-line experience at a starting point of $299. Then with the 2, they went up to $329 before hitting $399 and $429 with the 3 and 3T. Now we're basically at $500. Sure, the phone is still less expensive than the Galaxy S8 and Google Pixel, but not necessarily cheaper than the LG G6. Is it still worth it? Is there still excellent value there? For the premium set of specs, yeah, mostly, but for the software support, I don't know if we can actually answer that. In the end, the OnePlus 5 is a phone that checks most of the boxes and drops in at prices lower than most of its competitors. You get a quality design and build, a best-in-class software experience, along with equally as good performance, plus battery life that'll last you at least a day on a single charge. But the dual camera setup has left a lot to be desired, and in smartphones today, cameras are make or break features. I'm hopeful that OnePlus will be able to improve that over time, but for now I'm just going to have to watch from afar while using a different smartphone.